Hello and welcome to KLM Institute.
Everyone. We have some fascinating news to cover today that's been making waves in the world of finance and business. Nathan Anderson, the founder of the notorious short-selling firm, Hindenburg Research, has announced that he is shutting down the company. Now, this news might be shocking to many, considering the high-profile nature of the firm's past reports, which shook up the financial world, especially their allegations against India's Adani Group and the electric vehicle company Nikola. But what led to this drastic decision? And what does it mean for the future of short selling in the world of finance? Let's dive into it. So, Hindenburg Research, a firm that Nathan Anderson started in 2017, is famous for its explosive short-selling reports. The company's business model focused on investigating companies that they believed were inflating their financial health or involved in fraudulent activities. Once they identified potential targets, they'd publish detailed reports, causing stock prices to plummet. These reports would often lead to massive investigations, regulatory actions, and sometimes lawsuits. One of their most famous targets was the Adani Group, an Indian conglomerate led by billionaire Gautam Adani. In January 2023, Hindenburg accused Adani Group of stock manipulation and accounting fraud, which sent shockwaves through the global financial markets. Adani, of course, denied these allegations, calling them baseless. But despite the denial, the report caused a significant loss in the company's market value and attracted a lot of media attention. Later, in August 2024, Hindenburg dropped another bombshell, this time alleging that top officials from India's Securities and Exchange Board (SEBI), including the chairperson Madhabi Puri Book and her husband, were involved in offshore dealings connected to the Adani scandal. These were serious accusations, and once again, the Bucks firmly rejected them, calling them malicious and manipulative. Now, just as we were digesting the long-term effects of these reports, comes the unexpected announcement: Hindenburg Research will be disbanded. Nathan Anderson, in a heartfelt message on the company's website, shared that the decision had been brewing for a while. He mentioned that the nature of the work had been rather intense, and at times, all-encompassing, taking a significant toll on his personal and professional life. Anderson wrote that the firm had completed its pipeline of ideas, and with the recent Ponzi cases wrapped up, it was time to shut things down. But what's interesting is that the firm's closure comes just days after a U.S. Congressman, Lance Gooden, wrote to the U.S. Department of Justice. In his letter, Gooden questioned why the DOJ was investigating the Adani Group, given that the alleged crimes took place in India. The congressman pointed out that even if the allegations of bribery were proven true, it might not be the U.S. government's place to intervene, considering the lack of involvement of any American entities in the case. This letter, sent in early January 2025, raised a lot of eyebrows, especially given that it seemed to suggest political motives behind the scrutiny of Adani Group. Now, you might be wondering, how does Donald Trump fit into all this? Well, there's no direct involvement, but there are some interesting angles. While Trump himself hasn't been accused by Hindenburg Research, the company's past reports have sometimes brought to light politically charged matters, especially those involving powerful figures and large corporations. Trump's own business dealings, particularly in industries like real estate and energy, have drawn a fair share of criticism and investigation over the years. It's not a stretch to say that financial firms, regulators, and lawmakers in the U.S. might see similar patterns in business practices across the board, whether it's in Trump's dealings or in other global figures like Adani. This is where the broader picture gets intriguing. The involvement of political figures in cases like Adani's can often create a tangled web of corporate, financial, and political interests. And while Hindenburg's investigations might not have targeted Trump directly, The broader question remains. What does this mean for the future of short-selling firms that challenge powerful entities? Is this an end to a controversial practice, or just a shift in how these financial revelations will be handled in the future? Nathan Anderson's decision to disband Hindenburg Research marks the closing of an era for the firm. He reflected on his journey with Hindenburg, mentioning that nearly 100 individuals had been charged, either civilly or criminally, as a result of the firm's work. This includes high-profile billionaires, oligarchs, and corporate giants who found themselves under intense scrutiny. Anderson said that he viewed his time at Hindenburg as a chapter in my life, acknowledging that it was both a rewarding and a dangerous path to walk. Beyond the Adani case, Hindenburg had also targeted other companies, including Ebix Inc., a financial technology firm, and Tingo Group, an African conglomerate. These reports have often caused a ripple effect in the stock market, leading to massive volatility and calls for tighter regulations around financial reporting and corporate governance. So, what does this mean moving forward? The closure of Hindenburg Research raises important questions about the future of investigative short selling. Will other firms rise to take its place, or will the financial world become more cautious about taking on powerful corporations, especially when the risk of backlash is so high? We could see regulators tightening controls, not just on the companies that come under scrutiny but also on the short sellers themselves. In closing, while Nathan Anderson's departure from Hindenburg marks the end of an era for one of the most controversial financial firms in recent history, the ripple effects of their work, especially their reports on Adani and Nikola, are far from over. The stories they uncovered, the lawsuits they triggered, and the regulatory attention they garnered will continue to shape discussions on corporate accountability for years to come. We'll have to wait and see how this plays out in the coming months. Will we see new players emerging in the world of short selling? Or will Hindenburg's closure signal a shift towards a more cautious financial landscape? Only time will tell. As always, stay tuned for more updates, and thank you for being part of KLM Institute.